All right, everyone. Well, we had that fun little RP warm-up session, and by the way, I'm absolutely delighted in the ongoing RP that Ready to Nap and Dead Aussie Gamer have been having above. And hello, Bewitchcraft. My goodness, if those aren't some adorable emotes. Very, very cute. What a lovely little derpy cat. Oh my goodness. Now, what we're gonna do, we're not going to overextend our brains. We're not gonna be tearing our hair out. Oh no, how do we build a setting? What do we do? We're gonna use a little worksheet and a little imagination, and it will all come together. Afterfoff says, Wiccan Dreamer is with NeoRealm's group. Her first time playing, I thought she was an experienced player. I was stunned to learn it was her first game. That is awesome, Afterfoff. Yeah, she did mention that she was recommended to us by NeoRealms. And I'm glad that for her first time, she stepped up and she did a good job. Death Angel's in with all the emotes. All the emotes. Oh, she even led the game. Well, look, let this act as proof for you all that you too can step into an RP situation and, lean into it. Have fun. Ask questions. Seek clarification, and don't be afraid to, take a bold action. Excellent, excellent. Hi, Shadamura. Hello to you. Hello, Shadamura. You finished your big map today. Do you feel relieved? You came in right when we're actually going to be doing some map making in a little bit here too, Shadamura. So if you have that energy flowing through, you are welcome to spare a little bit this way, as we are creating a settlement. We're creating an adventuring environment. Back with snacks is Bullet Club Puppet, but unfortunately I can't stay long because I work in the morning. All right, I'll tell you what, Bullet Club. What I'll do is you can get the first roll in. And you know how we make our randomized characters? Well, there's a process where we also try and remove our natural biases through a series of random rolls. And if this is your first time seeing this happen, I hope you can enjoy and participate alongside us. I will throw in a caveat of if we're role-playing as dungeon masters, in this instance, we don't know exactly who our friends or family members will be playing. We're just trying to come up with an environment. I will say, if you want to take the reverse approach, where you ask your players to make characters, there's a lot of environmental cues you can take from any of their characters. Though this exercise, this workshop, we're going to use this as a starting point. Dark Wolf is redeeming. You want to roll the majority race? Okay. James says, I think my world building tutorial got deleted. A tutorial in what, James? And you tried your hand at streaming earlier today too, Shadamura. How did that go for you? Was it a learning experience? Are you getting comfortable with it? Well, hey, Shadamura, I streamed to an empty room for a while as well. But you know what? You stick with it. You broadcast like you're broadcasting to 1,000 people. You talk to the camera, make eye contact, or always you chat and you interact with 0 people just as you would with 1,000. And hello, New Monica. Well, in Shadamura, when you go live on your channel, when you go live on your channel, please make sure that you share that on our Discord as well. You're welcome to do so. All right, so Bullet Club, you have to go soon. So what I would like you to do is to start us off. And what do I mean by terrain types? Well, I mean, everywhere you live, there's something, right? There's some kind of a biome or a couple that intersect the city, the county, the state or province or country or continent that in which you live. And we're going to be going through, you know, what I chose was arbitrary. If you want more than 2 biomes, then have more than 2 biomes. You had it posted in a few places, like a certain world building Discord. I won't advertise. Well, I mean, if you mention another community, that's fine, James. You know, if it's negative, then I appreciate the discretion, because I don't want to start any kind of, you know, we ain't the feuding tops around these here parts. But I'm sorry if you had some content that dropped off, James. Every stream is a learning experience, Death Angel. Yep. Now, in D&D, there are 8 major biomes. Not that there can't be more, or I guess subtler versions, but if we're talking mechanics, there are 8 different broad natural locales that exist between rangers and druids in the core book. And if you're doing your world building and you use this as a reference, then you might very well have a friend say, "Oh, I've wanted to play a ranger, else, you know, whatever." Maybe you roll a desert. In fact, I'll tell you what, Bullet Club, go ahead and roll 1d8 in chat. Exclamation point 1d8. Rolls on a 4. 1, 2, 3, a forest. So our first terrain type is a forest. Now from here, from desert heat, yeah, there. Poor Casimir gets really thirsty out in the desert. Now from here, if you want to describe a forest as, you know, ancient oaks that have been alive for, you know, 500 years, redwood trees, that are as tall as the eye can see. Maybe it's a forest of mushrooms. Maybe it's bamboo that is as tall and dense as a forest. You know, the type of a forest can be up to your discretion. Here's our prompt. And if we're talking mechanics, which as a dungeon master, we got to answer these questions for our players. Yeah, so this settlement exists in an area with a forest and something else. Ready to nap? Will you please roll 1d8, exclamation point 1d8 in chat to give us our second terrain type? Stops on a 5. Forest and grassland. Which, by the way, you know, depending on how you want to count it, maybe bamboo you want to count as grass, or it could be a lot of different things here. So our 2 main terrain types for our adventuring settlement is forest and grassland. And whether or not any of our players want to play a ranger with these as special terrains or as a druid from those terrains, well, maybe there's a forest druid circle that exists as NPCs or as quest givers or as villains or whatever else. We're getting story ideas. We're producing content for the world. Also, I got to open up the points. Okay. So let's continue. When grasslands attack, hey, maybe we want raptors or something. All right, forest and grassland. By the way, this is going to be a big part of tomorrow's workshop when we're talking about the ecosystem and monsters and the geology of things. But right now, we're going to get a snapshot of the settlement that exists in this region. Now, there's a form of government that has established itself here to make maybe a series of towns, maybe one big city. Maybe it's kind of a medium-sized port city, and that's just where this whole thing takes place. That is ultimately up to us. But to help determine that, the other Josh Art, will you please type exclamation point 1D100? 1D100, Josh. Oh, you got to prep for the last class of my undergraduate life. Well, then, quick, before you go, roll a D100, Josh. Stops on an 11. All right, Josh, you're leaving us with a bureaucracy. All right, Josh, be well, my friend. Thanks for stopping by and participating. Bureaucracy. Various departments compose the government, each responsible for an aspect of rule. The department heads, ministers, or secretaries answer to a figurehead autocrat or a council. So we have a lot of different ministries or departments, or everything is sort of ruled by someone who does this as a job. Pneumatica. Yeah, be well, Josh. Yeah, the red zone is for loading or unloading only. No, that's the white zone. The red zone... Exactly. There's a bureaucracy, as featured in the movie Airplane. All right, so there's a prompt. Now, what I like... Oh, thank you very much for the follow. Just Isaiah? Did I pronounce that correctly? Just Isaiah. The grasslands are reeds to make the paper to fill out all the forms in triplicate. It could be, yeah, it could be like reeds or papyrus. You know, we're going to need a source of fresh water, and just because we didn't roll coast doesn't mean that we can't have a river valley that is our forest and grasslands kind of a thing. So, Rytel, keep that in mind, because that could very well end up being, you know, this could be a paper-centric culture. Just like a real politician creates a great mess and takes off. Jeez. Now, I like to have several features to describe an area. And this can scale infinitely. Can you all think of three, if not monuments, can you think of three things that might be a point of interest to your city? What about to your county or equivalent? What are three things that make your state or province unique or territory? What are three things that would be outstanding and could define your country? And so we can scale this however we wish. Now, in this case, we're going to make a settlement of some kind. And why don't we roll what is going to be outstanding? We're going to have 2 monuments that have been built by the locals. And then we're going to have a weird locale. And if you want more of this or less of this or whatever, this is your call. This is me, a line in the sand. It's arbitrary. Let's get 2 monuments in a weird locale. Oh, okay. Hey, Dead Aussie, real quick. can you please type exclamation point 1D20 so you can leave your thumbprint on this locale? We may have already lost Dead Aussie Gamer. Then let's go to Kiwi Sanctuary. Are you here? Kiwi Sanctuary, if you're here, can you type exclamation point 1D20? Stops on a 9. So Kiwi says that there is an intact statue of a person or a deity. And so let's do this. Reezy, I want to know if we have a person or a deity. So Reezy, will you please roll a D12 in chat? 1 through 6, it's a person. 7 through 12, it's a deity. On a 1, so this is of a person. And my goodness, McGruber. Suh, dude? Hey, McGruber, good to see you. Welcome. It's always great to have you here. Thank you for the re-up. McGruber, can you please type exclamation point 1D20 in chat? I want you to give us a monument for our settlement. Pardon. Well, welcome back, and here's your homework. And hey, McGruber, I understand because sometimes we need personal time, but always know you are welcome just to chat in Discord or hang out or whatever, or to stop by, even lurk. You always have a seat at our table, sir. You always have a seat at our tables. No, a 1. So we have a sealed burial mound or a pyramid. So let's determine this. Let's have Mnemonica. Mnemonica, will you please roll a D10? If it's an odd number, it's a pyramid. If it's an even number, it's a burial mound. It's exclamation point 1D10. Odd number. So we have a sealed pyramid is a monument somewhere as a part of this settlement. Hey, Tesla, it's good to see you also. In fact, Tesla, this is what you get for speaking up. Now you have some homework to do. Age of Tesla, will you please roll a D20 to give us a weird locale for this area? No, it's fine, Mnemonica. MathRockSpot had a similar command to that, but MathRockSpot is not botting right now. I think something changed on Twitch's end and it's not compatible, so I'll have to find another one. Stops on a 2. Almost a wild magic zone. However, this locale is a dead magic zone. Dead magic zone. Or at least it has a dead magic zone, if the entirety of it isn't. Look up Bruna Buon. Burial grounds in Ireland built into the landscape. Oh, yeah, that's it's a bunch of the cairns, if I recall correctly. Oh, well, hello, Mrs. Ready to Nap. It's nice to meet you. That's more magic dead than dead magic, though, says Mnemonica. Now, I'm not worried that this could be a day-to-day thing that you can roll. I'm not too worried about this. We can always put in something like temperate, Arctic, or tropical, subtropical, etc. She posted kitty toes in the forums. I'll have to take a look when I get the opportunity to. 5G magic will still get reception in the dead zone, right? It will, but it will cause a plague. Because we all know that 5G waves carry disease. This is known. All right. Now we had KH Darkwolf wanted to roll for what the dominant race in this settlement is. And what we could do, is if we go here to our character creator. Now from here, if we just want to say, it's player handbook only, but you know, let's leave it open. What kind of a society do we want? So let's have all 50 be available, and find out what is going to be the dominant race in this bureaucratic dead magic zone. Ooh, pardon. Honestly, if you're going to have bureaucracy, a dead magic zone is a good place for it, because people can't, you know, manipulate the documents. So Darkwolf, roll a D100, and we will, we'll just, like, whatever, divide it in half. Or, like, we'll go 1 to 50 and 1 to 50. Alright, you roll a 51. So if we do a 51, so it would roll and come back, so we have Eric Kokra. So this is a society that has Eric Kokra. And, Mom 70s, will you please also roll a D100 in chat with exclamation point 1D100? And we're going to learn what our other race is in the area. You roll a 97, so that would end up being a 47. And so we have Eric Kokra and Vidalkin. So we have a race of flying bird people and like demi why it's not reptiles, amphibians. And we have some demi amphibian people. So we have Vidalkin and Eric Kokra. Can you physically take documents out of the DMZ, alter them there, and when you bring them back? Possibly. So I guess the bureaucracy would need layers and layers of protection to make sure that didn't happen. We can have fun with it, but, you know, in a world where magic exists, yeah, I mean, what is anything? Because magic is magic. All right, Ready to Nap. Hey, thank you for hanging out and for your wit and wisdom as always. And thank you for sharing your anti-anxiety treatment up above as well, Ready to Nap. Be well, my friend. And for Mrs. Ready to Nap, thank you for posting. Vidalkin are canonically bureaucrats. Yeah, they certainly help keep things going in Ravnica. Obsidian, hello. Paper smuggling and forging. Well, apparently we might be a central source for paper. Yeah. So let's do this. Obsidian, we need to determine what are the relations like between our two races. And would you please type exclamation point 1D20 to help us determine that? Stops on an 18. Oh, the racial minority are refugees. Racial minority are refugees. Okay, so now we need to sit back and think. Something happened that at some point in time drove the Vidalkin here. You know, was their old city destroyed by their own hand, by an invading army? by disease. And what led them here to a point where, you know, just because they're refugees, it doesn't necessarily mean that the Aarakocra treat them badly. It could. But this is something that we would need to find out. You know, if the Aarakocra are accepting the Vidalcan to live among them, then there's some kind of an exchange, mercantile, labor, or, you know, an exchange of education or something is going on. Maybe the Vidalcan brought a bunch of treasures with them, and the Aarakocra said, yeah, you can live here with us, but you're going to give up your treasure. You know, how is this going to play into our economy and our culture? We do not have to answer those questions right now, but let's take this one step at a time and follow the prompts and think about what could lead to this circumstance. Kind of Atlantis type vibes. All right, now, next up, the ruler's status. The ruler of the bureaucracy, or at least like the ruler of the department that rules over the other departments, which each have their own department head. What is the ruler's status? And to help us determine this, let's see, who has not rolled yet? Death Angel, will you please roll a D20? And I don't think Rytel has rolled yet either, so you can get the next one, Rytel. Death Angel, will you please type !! 1D20 in chat? Hey, Old Wolf! Alright, I'll call on you as well. Pneumonica proposes the Vidalcan fled a Githzerai anarchist incursion, and they gained refugee status in exchange for acting as functionaries in the Aarakocra bureaucracy, since they already had the skills. And maybe that's what we want to roll with. I don't see why it can't work, and it's interesting to think, well, who else could be out there? We could do another race roll to see if they're, who the enemy could be, or who drove. Maybe it is the Gith if we just want to decide. Death Angel says 8. Our ruler is a feared tyrant. A feared tyrant. All right, now, Rytel, this settlement has a notable trait. What is our notable trait? I need you to roll ! 1D20 to indicate. What is the notable trait about our settlement? Stops on a 15. Hey, there we go. It writes itself, everyone. It writes itself. Important library or archive. In fact, we can... there might be a little difference between the two. Maybe not. Let's do this. I am going to roll a 4-sided die. On a 1 or a 2, it's a library. Okay. So there is an important library here. Now, this place is also known for something. And Old Wolf, will you please type ! 1D20 to let us know what our region, our settlement is known for. Yeah, it might be a knowledge bank. Something along those lines. Who's to say that maybe that's the currency? Or even maybe they don't have a monetary currency, but instead have, it's a bureaucracy where everyone has to do something. Pneumonica, I mean, because we'll talk about economy and stuff in more detail. What if it's something like a knowledge bank or a skill, like a time bank, a labor bank? That would be interesting. So you roll the D20, it stops on a 3. And so it's known for its greedy merchants. So perhaps there's a bit of a like a laissez-faire kind of an attitude towards commerce and business. Birds in their shiny collections. Hey, Grimvex. Grimvex, your penalty for speaking up and saying hi is participating in the exercise. I know, horrible, right? There's a calamity going on. In Grimvex, you're going to be the bearer of bad news. What is happening to these people right now when we discover them? I need you to type exclamation point 1D20 to tell us. Clearly there's some kind of big ledger archive or even a magic blockchain. Grimvex, it stops on a 13. There are undead stirring in cemeteries. Grimvex brings zombies. Now, this can prompt some very interesting things. Number one, could this be a villain? Ah, Rytel, could this be environmental? Or could it be a type of magic that isn't affected by the anti-magic? And, oh, Rytel, 2 steps ahead of me. What if the anti-magic is some kind of a protective, like a dome? Is some kind of a ward system? You know, if not an actual visible dome, but maybe it is. What if it was put in place to stop the necromancy and it's fading? Or someone found a way to start defacing the old runes, which are offering protection. And don't forget, we have this sealed pyramid somewhere in the countryside, which could be acting as a catalyst or the agent to solve this problem. The zombies are rising because they still have debt to pay to the bureaucracy. So this is the Orzhov from Ravnica. Tesla says, what if anti-magic is the currency and the greedy merchant tyrants are hoarding it and letting the zombies out? Tesla, I had something similar years ago in my campaign world where there was this kind of ambient destructive magic that was around, and a city that had just recently relearned blood magic was exacting a sort of a tax of blood from all the inhabitants, and so people had to let some of their blood on a when I say a regular basis, I don't mean they have to bleed a pint per day. But, you know, everyone, and of course there were exceptions, but everyone was supposed to bleed, and everyone who bled, their blood would turn into kind of like a ruby dust that dissipated and flowed up to this blood shield that was protecting the city from this harmful ambient magic. And so ultimately, those who committed crimes, especially those that deserve capital punishment, ultimately ended up serving the community, because when they were put to death, like by beheading or by bloodletting, all of their blood was released and would help keep this ward going. And, you know, a punishable, you know, if you were caught and you're doing other crimes, you might have to let a particular amount of blood as partial payment to society from which you stole something. Obsidian says, and the offering of knowledge fuels it. The energy of the learning keeps the balance. Afterfov says, I was thinking of Akira Kurosawa's film Dreams. Yeah, so people of certain backgrounds or certain incomes were able to wear a little, like, a charm that that meant when they bled that their blood would be their own. They would not. It was sort of an exemption. It was like their tax exemption. But everyone, even if you died naturally, your blood was let go to help the city survive. So there's all kinds, exsanguination. There's all kinds of ideas that we can take with this. And by the way, let's just stop for a moment and take a step back. All we did was roll like some D20s and some other dice. And look at everything. I'm glad, Tesla, I'm glad you got the joke. You're talking to someone. I have my master's in business and such. So there is some little tongue-in-cheek humor and inspiration to things. Anyway. Look, all we did was we rolled a couple dice, and look at the discussion we're having. Now, are any of you afraid? You know, like, oh, it's a forest town. Well, no, we might as well be just playing Lord of the Rings because they have a forest town or whatever. What we're onto, you know, you're not going to find this in Lord of the Rings. You know, this has very quickly become our setting. And because we're taking it step by step, because we're understanding and asking ourselves these questions, we're going to be developing this region, this city. It's going to have us ask more questions and answer more questions, and it's going to help us to really build and develop what's going on. Now, for the town name, I don't know if we have a town name yet. But, you know, hey, Raven, many towns have some kind of a religious building. And you know what? I'd imagine in your hometown, there might be more than one church or temple or, you know, whatever would be the popular religion in your neck of the woods. So, Raven, at least for our major religious influence building, I need you to type exclamation point 1D20. And what is a cue for the dominant consideration of faith, if any, of this society? I know, Raven, you walk in and say hi, and I suddenly assault you with work. 5. A temple to a good or neutral deity. So I guess in this case, James, will you please type exclamation point 1D12? And if it's a 1 through 6, it'll be a good deity. On a 7 through 12, it'll be a neutral deity. 6. And also, thank you very much, Ravenstar, for re-upping your sub. Thank you very much, and Obsidian, thank you also for the follow. All the activity, y'all. The Presidium Archives, maybe the library could be within it. Knowledge and neutral. Yeah, I mean, keep these ideas in mind. Throw them out. Let's talk about it. Let's consider them. I want to know more about this place. I got to head off, though. Thank you so much for another great inspiration. You're very welcome, Reezy. Hopefully you can watch this as a VOD later or catch it on YouTube. And of course, whatever we do tonight is going to carry over into tomorrow's workshop as well. Afterfoff says, in the movie Dreams, soldiers were never dismissed from their commanding officer and haunted him his entire life until he held a parade drill in which he dismissed them from their duty. In this bureaucracy, what they use for currency causes the dead to rise because there is no way for people to completely pay off the debt. So the bureaucracy has to put measures to keep the dead from rising. When the system got stretched and could put resources to the cemeteries, the dead started rising. I get the concept of the film. I think I lost what you were going after in the second half after FOV. And that could very well be me with crossed wires, not necessarily your explanation. Now, there's at least one good tavern here. There's probably several. But I want to know, any adventurer that comes through town, where are they going to be directed to go? Either because it's convenient to move the plot along in the meta for the DM, or because this is the best place in town, hands, wings, or fins down. And so, Darkwolf, will you please roll 1d20? And Bewitchcraft, are you still here? Presidium is a Latin word for fortress or garrison in which feeds into the barrier and needs more new ideas to keep it going. A blessing based on a gift from a neutral god of magic. Perhaps then, Obsidian. Keep that idea in your mind. I'm not making the minutia of this here. Not yet anyway. But keep that in mind. I don't think we have Bewitchcraft with us. Who has not rolled yet? Plunder Loot, are you still hanging out with us? Or Shadamura, are you here? I guess not. All right, let's, so I'll tell you what, we have, Obsidian. Why don't you roll a d20? Exclamation point 1d20, Obsidian. Obsidian Cyrix, or a Cyrix, or a Calyx, a Grail. I need another d20 roll, though. It's just exclamation point 1d20. Stops on an 18, so we have 7 and 18. So the best tavern in town is the Running Dog. The Running Dog. Now, of course, there's a story to the name. There is a story to the name, and why is the best place in town called the Running Dog? Also, hello, Bug. If you could also roll a d20, I need you to tell us what kind of a tavern is the best tavern in town. So, PDX Bug, will you please type exclamation point 1d20? Stops on a 10. The best place in town ends up being, and this might not be known to the public, maybe it is, maybe it's not, but the best place in town is called is a Thieves Guild hangout. Maybe that's why it's the best place. All the best stuff flows through there because that's where it gets fenced. And that's where information flows. It tracks with the greedy merchants. Yeah, there we go. So Obsidian and anyone else who's new here, you know, in life we have Owos and we have Uwos. And here we have Iwis. IWI. It writes itself. And I want you to, now that we filled in the worksheet, okay? Now that we filled in the worksheet, I want us to all welcome TT2KB in with the raid. My goodness, shout out to TT2KB, tabletop to keyboard. Hamsters with hats, hello my friend. Good to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What were you all doing? If you can, obviously spam those emotes. Everyone from TT and Matty Morgs, TT and MM. Howdy hi to all of you, and let us know what you were up to over in your corner of Twitch. Ooh, pardon. But I hope you can see, look at all of the inspiration and a really good seed to an original setting that we just created by simply rolling a couple dice and talking about it while casually sipping on generic diet soda. And putting, you know, just, oh, what if? What if? Huh, what if? Well, I like this one part of the what if, and I really like this other what if. And now we're going to squish them together and make a pineapple pen, and it makes for a glorious setting. Going in with the Shadowrun 6th edition. Heck yeah. And some art earlier, too. Well, here, I'm going to give you all... Boop, 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 boop. Some emote love and spam and wonderfulness. Heck yeah. Pneumonica says diet generic just doesn't have that regular generic taste. So for those of you that are here, like, has this inspired you? And look at all we did. We cracked open to a couple pages in the DMG, rolled some dice, and sat down as friends to talk about this. Absolutely, hamsters with hats. Absolument. And we have all of the seeds now to start, well, we're going to go into map making, but we also can think about, for our next 2 nights of the workshop, our ecology, our economy, our culture, our geography. How does that, you know, how do things look? How do things act with more specificity? So for things like what you were talking about with, you know, the neutral deity, or, you know, is it some kind of a shield and all this? We have these as our overarching prompts. Where does the sealed pyramid come into play? What about this intact statue of a person? Who is this person? Who was this person? Who will this person be? It's not a deity. It could have been. So this is a person of some kind. You know, is it a hero? A superhero? Is it a ruler of the past? A great cultural, you know, a great cultural touchstone for a lot of people? Hamsters, thank you very much for the follow. Oh, Kiwi? Yeah, this, I mean, this has so much good stuff, and when we go through, you know, we go through the DMG when we do things like magic item creation, spell creation, settlement creation, NPCs and villains, so you get to see the DMG broken down into very consumable chunks here. Chris says, what's shaking, gang? Been lurking, listening to Big Brain Power. I hope we've been entertaining you. Have you been painting again, Chris? Tesla, yeah, here's a statue of Moses Cleaveland. He's the guy who invented Cleveland. Pneumonica says, it's a magical girl fighting for love and justice. Maybe that's what our society has. Thus, the intact statue of a person could be a magical girl. Maybe she, you know, she's a magical girl because she creates the anti-magic. And a lot of people seem to hang around the base of the statue and are always looking up at the sky. Well, and here's the fun, Monica. We can turn that into an NPC, whether or not that NPC exists. We can use that NPC as a seed. That NPC as a seed for a holiday or the statue. And there's nothing saying that, you know, that couldn't be an impactful person in the past or in the present. Oh, and Daly's also lurking with paintbrushes. Y'all are being productive while I'm sitting here on a soapbox. Just finished up posting on Discord. Oh yeah, so y'all go take a look at what Chris is sharing. Love and justice is just the facade. So Bug is bringing a little bit of intrigue. Bug isn't a true believer, but perhaps that's the right attitude to have. And the Awu is painting. So every night is painting night on Matty Morgs. It's just that I don't get to paint. You all get to paint. Well, I guess someone's got to be here and look frumpy and disheveled. Might as well be me. Hey, Wiffle Possum, good to see you. Sometimes we plant seeds, sometimes they grow. Bug says it is the foreshadowing of the Thieves Guild that... so Bug wants to plant those seeds of... So Bug is sort of... we can talk about this in layers. Bug has gone to the DM layer and is planting story seeds on the DM layer of maybe who's really running the bureaucracy. And of course, what would be a bureaucracy if not for some kind of organized crime? Who's to say that the entire city isn't run by several major organized crime families? Ooh, what a twist. Does it have to be? Absolutely not. If you like this version as a non-organized crime family run city, then there you go. Kiwi says, maybe, just maybe, it's a statue of a human magic user who stopped a great evil, and the Aarakocra were once human and were turned into Aarakocra. Hamster with Hat says, how do you adopt a mini? Asking for my collection. There's a couple ways you can go about it, Hamsters with Hats. You can adopt them straight out of the orphanage, or if there's particular sets you're interested in, I could pull them off my wall. Otherwise, you can do so through getting boxes over my shoulder here, or capsules. And Daly or Dark Wolf or Chris or someone can give you some more details in regards to that. Or, Tesla says, or even worse, the government runs the Thieves Guild. And you know what? Why there's necromancy? Because government programs never die. They live into perpetuity, and they continually rot and become disgusting. And no one wants to change it. So it's a perfect metaphor for necromancy. It's... What was the quote? The closest thing to living eternally we have is a government program. It was something along those lines. I think it was a Ronald Reagan quote. So, I mean, look, we can have, a kind of a nod and a wink amongst us. And my goodness, D20 TV is rating us also. Welcome, Raiders. Welcome, welcome. Let's give a shout out, and Marlboro Man, I will read what you said in just a second. Shout out to D_20 TV. Hello, everyone. D20, what were you up to in your corner of D&D? Were you doing some more map making by chance? If so, then hey, you'll get to see me bust out my MS Paint skills real soon. Would the anti-magic zone have been put in place to suppress the cursed item, the Toe of Vecna, that was sealed in the pyramid but was obtained by the formerly not-so-tyrannical ruler, since his obtaining the item drives him to become a lich and makes a lich army? Could the Toe of Vecna be contained in the sealed pyramid? And is the sealed pyramid, everyone considers the pyramid to be sealed, but is it truly sealed? Are the undead not just rising through the cemeteries, but what if they're actually going through some kind of ancient tunnel or sewer system? because maybe they were contained in the pyramid, and it was presumably sealed, but someone popped the top, and now the contents ain't so fresh no mo. Pneumonica says, the Thieves Guild began as a government department that did special operations and special investigations. However, it became a bureau that was largely forgotten, being small and poorly funded. One bureau head decided to find itself off of evidence accumulation, and stealing wealth became what it did. And in this case, yes, so the Thieves Guild, that is the central here. Then the Thieves Guild itself is a bureaucracy. If we have an organized crime, organized extortion, everyone pays their insurance, right? I'm sure everyone is insured in this town. Man, you're digging into this, and all we did was roll some dice. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I want you to continue thinking along these lines. And D20 says, Rise of the Serpent campaign tonight. Well, hey, when you all finished up, thank you for choosing to come over and rate us. I really appreciate it. And if any of you got to go to bed, I understand it's 2 a.m. here. You got to do what you got to do. But if any of you stick around, then you are welcome to participate in this awesome workshop we have going on. You're about to hit the hay? All right, well, McGruber, thank you for stopping by again. I'm glad you did. And if we can help, put a smile on your face, brother, then let's do so. All right, I'll tell you what. Before we stop this segment, let's do. We're going to do a quick NPC. We're going to make a quick NPC here. And this NPC is going to be the person that they made this intact statue of. So give me 1 second here. I have to get some... I got to find my... Where's my NPCs? Yeah, there we go. And we'll do a quick NPC generation in order to... Boop, hi. In order to try and determine who this current or historical figure is or was. Hamsters with Hat says, I have a statue in my campaign that's so huge, this statue of the BBEG that can be seen from most places in the land. It's also his lair, holding a big orb full of blood of the magic users he's killed. Ugh. That's creepy and cool, Hamsters. No, you're fine. I understand. You live in the future. Hopefully you have flying cars, and it's really cool. A regular John Doe, you just joined looking for some new DM tips. Well, we can certainly provide them. In this exercise tonight, John, we have been going through and randomly generating an adventure setting that would end up being our setting. It would be original. It would be our place to adventure. And now, as a part of a branch exercise, we're gonna do a fun, quick NPC creation that will help support this settlement and perhaps be a seed for when we talk about culture and economics and religion and all this. So let's do this real quick. Like, we're gonna go to chapter 3. I'm sorry, and by that I mean chapter 4. And let's who does this character look like? Or what is this character's role? Is this a historical figure or whatnot? So, John Doe, will you please type !1D20 in chat? And I want you to tell us what is a notable part of this statue and perhaps the living person. You're fine, John Doe. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. Hamsters with hats. Can you please type exclamation point 4D6? And you're going to give us our NPC abilities as well as our ideal when we get to that point. Yeah, Rain, thank you very much. Rain, if you have a second, can you please type exclamation point 1D20? Hamsters is giving us a 1, 1, 5, and 1. So we can't have the same number twice for the abilities here. So we'll go... we'll skip over the first one, and we will go to the 5. And that's going to give us a 1 and a 1 for our ideal. No, Joe, I if you don't want to participate, that's absolutely fine. It's okay. All right, Rain survives. You have a 17, so we're going to go to our talent. And our talent was a 17. Or no, I'm sorry, that was supposed to be for the appearance. Because we went for that first. So let's start identifying what we have here. A distinctive nose. Our statue has a distinctive nose of some variety. Now, our abilities for our NPC, our high is strength, and our low is wisdom. So powerful, brawny, strong, and we're a bit oblivious or absent-minded. Now, this could be our strength is a 20, and everything else is a 19, and wisdom is an 18, and that's our low ability. Could be this is in the negatives. This is simply a prompt to get us to think about the person whom this important statue represents. Now, this NPC has or had a talent. And Bug, will you please type exclamation point 1D20 in order to let us know which talent we have? So, John, are you all right? Like, did we start off on a bad foot? Because I don't want you to think that I'm a pushy person, because that's absolutely not who we are or what we do here. All right, Bug says that our NPC great with animals. Could this be how the Prime Tavern got its name, the Running Dog? Maybe the founder or this important person has or had this tavern. Okay, I mean, if I misunderstood what you said, I didn't want it to seem like, hey, you're here, can you do this? And then you're like, whoa, dude, I'm not here to participate in that way. And that I was being pushy for you. So, John, if you would like to exercise, to participate in this, would you type exclamation point 1D20? And what is the mannerism of this character? Maybe a greyhound race or gambling? Maybe, Bug. We shall see. Yeah? While that's being worked on, Mnemonica, will you please type exclamation point 1D12 to indicate how this person interacted with people? Kiwi, one of the biggest ways to get your players to speak with an accent or to be comfortable using accents or voices is for you to do it as a fellow player or as a dungeon master. Pneumonica may not be with us, so Kiwi Sanctuary, can you please roll a D12? Exclamation point 1D12. And Death Angel, can you please type exclamation point 1D20? You're fine, John. You're fine. We'll just continue along here. So we have a 3. So here she is blustering when interacting with other people. Blustering. And Death Angel, the mannerism is a 13. Fidgets. So we have a fidgety blusterer. Now, as for useful knowledge, that's up to you as the dungeon master what your NPC knows. Your NPC could just be a one-shot information dump. It could be an ongoing, slow reveal of the world in some way. This is completely up to you. I include this step because we should consider it at some point. Though for the exercise we're currently going through, it's not important in the immediacy. Now, continuing from Hamsters with Hats roll of 4d6, we have an ideal of 1 and 1. So that is a good ideal, and number 1 of good ideal is beauty. Now, our NPC has a bond to the world in some way. And D20 TV, are you still here? If you are, can you please type exclamation point 1D10? Ah, nice emote, Kiwi. Hey, PV. Mom 70s. Will you please type exclamation point 1D10? And PV base, will you please type exclamation point 1D12? Oh, that's a cool prompt, Hamsters. Hamsters with Hats, will you please type exclamation point 1D10 into chat? Oh, boy. PV, is your game sustainable with that many? All right, our NPC's bond is number 9. Ooh, out for revenge. And his or her flaw or secret is number 10. A secret crime or misdeed. Uh-oh. Oh, what happened? It's a secret, though, so apparently he or she is lauded in some way. Oh, so, okay, it hasn't even, you haven't had the first session. Now, is this a public game, or, you know, because, like, I've run for, like, 14, 16 people at a table before in the store, because it's an open public game. I hope you have, you know, I hope all of you have talked about it. And, you know, you've said, well, with this many people, you have to be on your character. Because we don't have time for 9 people to go, well, I don't know. What do you think? And the other person's like, what? Oh, I'm sorry, I was waiting for my turn. It takes about an hour to get around the table, so, you know, sorry. Some context. So, John, what we're doing tonight is we're taking some easy steps as, you know, sort of like a D&D 101 level workshop to build a setting. And we went through an easy to follow worksheet, and we were inserting the results of random rolls into the slots. And we're thinking about what kind of an adventuring environment could this be based on the prompts that we received back from the Dungeon Master's Guide to help us build an original adventure setting, so we don't have to feel like, it's taking place in Middle-earth, or it's taking place in, you know, feudal Japan, or it's taking place in anime world, or whatever. You know, we're making something that has an original flair and a feel to it, that feels dynamic and interesting and different, so that it is our world. And we're not having to stress our brains to do so. And where you would come in is one of the monuments in the setting here had an intact statue of a person. And why would they build a statue to this person? Well, we're discovering that because we are making an NPC using a similar random rolling methodology. Yep. And I'm glad you asked, John. You can ask all these questions. This is an open discussion workshop, especially for new DMs, or even just people who are new to D&D at all, let alone those who want to run the game. Now, we can just simply stop here and apply other details as we see fit. If you want, you know, because now we have an outline, right? We have an outline of this character, and we can fill in and customize the character as we wish. Or we can go to our character builder. We can go to our character builder and find out, well, what are the details? You know, if you want to know a person's occupation, roll for background. A character's background is an excellent source for an occupation, or a hobby, or something else that's not just, I'm an adventurer that casts spells and, you know, bonks monsters. So let's go through a quick build for the other details here. So base, will you please type ! 1D100? Well, we're kind of making character creation, but the exact details of this character aren't going to matter because it's an NPC. Stops on a 67. All right, so we have a male. And next, let's go for a... James, will you please type... Maybe we'll actually... maybe we can get a third race. Right, we have Aarakocra, we have Vidalcan, who are refugees. If we want, we could just pick one of them. But maybe there's more. So I'll tell you what. James, will you please type ! 1D100? The story's going to write itself, John. We don't need to worry about the minutia of it because the story will write itself for us. We're all discovering it together. Stops on a 5. Bugbears. Okay. A bugbear. Now, I do have the D&D time homebrew rule. It's available if you go to the D&D time website. So what we'll do, Obsidian, will you please type ! 1D4? Odds, it's a normal bugbear. Evens, it's a shadow bugbear. So we have a shadow bugbear. All right. A male shadow bugbear. And our ideal was rolled as good. That doesn't mean that this character necessarily was. Hamsters, will you please type exclamation point 1D100? Well, John, eventually it will be important, but it's nothing we need to worry about at this stage. Stops on at 23, chaotic good. I'm not worried about character level, ASI, or feats. Not worried about that. So now let's come down here, and we're going to go... Age of Tesla, will you please type exclamation point 1D8? And Daily, if you're hanging out, can you give me a D10 roll, please? All right, so we're going to work in the first 10 here. 7. An archaeologist. An archaeologist. Oh, you know what? This could actually be pretty cool. What if this place was dug up, or it was founded by this archaeologist? Next up, Moonjade. Hello. We're not necessarily building a character. We're doing a quick fill-in for an NPC. Moonjade, will you please type exclamation point 1D13? This is what you get for being social and saying hi. You get homework. Possibly Tesla. Stops on a 1. An artificer. Well, who could design a bureaucracy better than an artificer? Especially an archaeologist. It writes itself, everyone. Iwi. I-W-I. It writes itself. All right. Let's see. Who's still hanging out here that hasn't rolled yet? Kiwi Sanctuary. Kiwi, will you please type exclamation point 1D3? No, I don't have UA programmed into the character generator. Kiwi gives us a 1. We are an alchemist. And lastly, I'm not too worried about the... I mean, if you want to roll height and weight and such, what is the general age range of this character? Do we have a young person and an elderly, wizened person? Let's have... Death Angel. Death Angel, will you please type exclamation point 1D100? It stops on a 93. We have a venerable bugbear. So venerable, I mean, because bugbears don't live too long themselves. So is so you know what? I will roll. I want to get in on this too. Stops on an 8. Okay. So we have a 75-year-old. We have a venerable. A venerable, chaotic good, male shadow, bugbear, artificer, alchemist, who is or was an archaeologist. And so this is the person who has a statue in town. Now, in this case, we say bugbears, and we might think goblinoids. If instead you want to think about fuzzy humanoids with long arms, we have the Aarakocra who can fly. We have the Vidalcan who kind of can swim. They're amphibious. What if our bugbears are kind of like a monkey people? You can reflavor in that instance, and now we have an interesting kind of a harmony among everything. So we have an amphibious people, an avian people, and a terrestrial people, but ones who can use the shadows of the grasses and the forest, those who might even be able to like swing from the trees. Again, how do we want to make this our world, our campaign setting? This is how you go about doing it. What's the rule that you have, John Doe? And so this is the statue character. And we can think about, as an artificer, let alone as an alchemist, this is someone who probably brought maybe curatives, or even as an alchemist, did some experimentation. What if the original people who lived here were these kind of sapien bugbears, and some of them grew wings? Now, of course, we said the Vidalcan are refugees. And if we want to say refugees, and then from what happened, then there's an easy way we can go about this, and you can see how this just continues to build. How this will continue to build into each other. Because we could make another settlement from where the Vidalcan originally came from. Or we can simply say, and yes, I have PV. Will you please do me a favor and type exclamation point 1d20? What caused the Vidalcan to be refugees and eventually seek asylum with the Aarakocra to form a mighty bureaucracy? Stops on a 5. A plague or a famine? Well, let's find out. James, will you please type exclamation point 1d4? 1 and a 2, it's a plague. 3 and a 4, it's a famine. A plague. A plague drove the Vidalcan to the Aarakocra. Okay. From a plague. And maybe that's how that magical shield, if we want to roll with that, maybe that's what ended up, popping up over this place. Dun 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 dun! Where do you think the Vidalcan can be great? In what capacity, John Doe? Are we talking the mechanics of the race? Are we talking about the kind of the fluff behind them, that they're this semi-amphibious people, or that they have a particular culture that might grow up around them? Because Vidalcan tend to be stronger casters by default. But the glorious thing about 5th Ed is you can have a fully functional Vidalcan Barbarian if you want. So do you see how we had a lot of these ideas that were just popping up, and it's it's easy to connect them. It takes a little thinking, little discussion, but there's nothing terribly onerous about it at all. Talking about the statue, they loved life and beauty and did wonders to make this place thrive, but due to old age creeping upon them, they wanted to live beyond their time, so taking the crime of vanity, cast themselves to stone. But over time, maybe they were forgotten or just awaiting a new age. Hey, Obsidian! Obsidian going to the DM layer of our exercises and planting more of those plot seeds. Maybe the intact statue of a person is the person, like a flesh to stone spell, or some artificer or alchemical experimentation. And there's nothing necessarily even saying, what if this intact statue of a person is directly linked? What if the person is on top of the pyramid? They don't have to. They absolutely don't have to. But we can play around with this in our minds. Yeah, Obsidian. So this person might have wanted to halt the aging process and ended up doing so by accidentally turning himself into stone and, had someone put him up as a statue. And that could end up being a whole side quest, or the point of the story could be to revive this founder, this person who understood the nature of what's happening, and especially now that the barrier is failing, the adventurers go and they find this information, they discover, about the foundation of this place, about the origin, where it wasn't always just Aarakocra. There are these long-limbed Sylvan people, like these bugbear, sort of like monkey people, lemurs if you want, I don't know, that existed before, but they had to adapt. And so that's what brings us to this point, where the shield is failing, and, the dead are starting to rise from cemeteries in some way, or some necromantic curse is falling upon people. And we have a journey of discovery, a mystery to solve. Well, yeah, John, if you do have a question on something, you're always welcome to ask. Just because I make a point doesn't mean it overrides any other thoughts that you all have. This is our setting and our conversation, not me. This is not my presentation that you have to accept, and it's going to be on the test, and if you don't follow it, then you don't get your degree or whatever. This is simply a bunch of people sitting at a table in a game store having fun talking about what ifs. No, don't. Obsidian, you're absolutely fine. If these ideas pop up, and they're popping up because it seems like a good fit, let your mind wander. Let your mind make connections. That's what it is built to do. We are hardwired up here to do that, to make connections and think and reach out and make sense of things that maybe at first don't make sense. No, you're not pushing anything, John. You're fine. Yeah, brain blasts are always great, Kiwi. All right. So, if you want to keep thinking, keep thinking. I need to get up and take a little break, and when we come back, let's go over a fun little map of some kind. And, there's maps you can find in a lot of places. There's even some, like, pre-generated stuff, some random generated stuff. I want to show you all in MS Paint, a very basic program, how we can go about getting ideas and playing with ideas about this region and this settlement as we'd like. So give me a couple minutes, stretch, take a break, do what you got to do, and when we come back, we'll pound out something really cool on MS Paint together.